with my supervisor. So she could freely give me her, opinions and all. And I've had strings of mentors. Mentors can also be short period. So there is a power of a brief interaction as well. So, don't underestimate that. So whether it was Elena in East Anglia or David Gill, who was the first MD of Cambridge's first incubator, he really opened the world for me, right? Coming back to India is Vijay Chandru or Dr. Bhan, all of them have played. But one thing is for sure, mentors need to evolve as well. If you have a long-term mentor, it's very important that they appreciate that you are also gaining leadership quality, you are also changing. If you detect that it is not happening, then I think it's better to dump the mentors also. Okay? So be sure that your mentor is evolving and also giving you that space. He kal to bachcha tha, ye kya janta hai. If that attitude continues, that person is not a mentor. Okay? The mentor has to understand you are also evolving, you are also gaining ground. And that's where. And finally, whatever, mentors should play the devil's advocate, but finally it is you who is making that decision, any decision, right? It's a bit like when you go and say, I want to marry that boy or a girl. Yeah, theek hai, haan ya na, but finally it's you who's going to make that decision.
Thank you. So we kind of, the rest of the questions kind of overlap with the ones that we already taken. Sorry. So we open the panel for questions from the audience. I request you to be brief in your framing the question. Any takers? The first ones that get some kind of a gift, I believe. This one.
How important is it in practical terms for our PhD students to first train as postdoctoral fellows before they can branch out into non-academic other careers that they are interested in, both from a practical standpoint and from the competitive standpoint? I've had students who want to do something else, have not been able to get their foot in the door because the others who did what they want to do have postdoc experience, and my student was only a PhD.
So you're saying postdoc experience, is it critical or not?
It depends on what you want to do. If you want a job in industry, yeah, but that's still doing research. If you want to go and do public policy, no. If you want to do science writing, I would go do an internship with a writer. If you want to do patent law, I will go and study law or work in a law firm. A postdoc is not, it depends on what you want to do, is my take on this. My last student was just going to submit his thesis. In the middle of he decided he wants to carry in finance. So in the middle of his PhD, went and worked for a financial engineering company in Mumbai. He's coming back to submit his thesis, he's going to go back there. He's not going to do a postdoc. So it's not important unless you want to think of an alternate career in science itself, which is doing research in industry or things like that. I should answer the question in over beer. My respect for papers is very, very low.
All right, here is an honest comment. I never published, okay? I didn't do it for a variety of reasons. Okay. And here I am. And you call me to be here, right? In a place like this. Number one. Number two, I think, it's not the question of postdocing or not postdocing. It's coming off the high horse. Okay? Just because somebody has a PhD and enters in even industry PhD, if you go to 3M, for example, you might meet a senior manager, a technical officer, who probably has spent 15 years on the bench looking at material science. You're going to not tell her that that's just because you got on a PhD and a 3-year postdoc, you know better than her. If she might be superior to you in that. So first learning I had after my PhD was to come off the high horse. I really had to come off the high horse and really see what it is to really appreciate. When I was interacting with sociologists and anthropologists and wanted to understand the nuances of how they looked at data. It's all about looking at data for evidence, right? We've been trained for that for 5, I was going to say goddamn years, but he's using far more better words than me. But but that's true. So the fundamentals of your PhD are amazing. Please, we are not cribbing about PhDs here. Okay, I love science, I love PhD, I love academics. It is about what you have really learned out of it and how you're going to use that. And in that case, whether you want to do a postdoc or not, it's up to you, as Ram said. I mean, I did a very short postdoc for 6 months in King's College, and then I got an attack of colitis, and I stepped out, and then I really had to figure things out.
Thank you. Second one.
It's an excellent panel, and I would take this opportunity to ask directly as a pitch so I like teaching, and that's my passion, and I feel that I'm associated with an institute which we are pitching it as an academic education startup, and we feel that we haven't got enough opportunities for incubating an education institute. In India, can we have that forum? Since 3 out of 5 panelists that I know here are very strong with all sort of startup businesses. Why don't we have any kind of an education backing incubation setups here? Or what is the way that we can approach for it?
You want to compete with Baiju? Yep, I mean, you won't answer that.
I don't agree with you.
Yeah.
There is enough money for education startups today. It's a big business, especially in India. So I don't know who has been telling you there is no money for education startups. I'm involved with 3-4 of them. It's also economics driven. India is a pyramid shaped age curve now, with the bottom of the pyramid being a lot of young people. So education is a great opportunity. There are a large number of startups, and still there are a large amount of opportunities. One, because of the mass that is available. 2, the way we think of education is changing. It's not anymore information oriented. And people realize that any skill set you learn today will be relevant in 5 years, so everybody needs to be continuously educated. So education is a big business, lots of opportunities both in India and globally. So I don't agree with your thesis that there is no support.
Are you here for dinner?
Yes.
Yeah, so one of the things that happens, because the questions like this are kind of must be with thought of you, is largely due to the not having enough networks. So unless you build up a network, I'm sure there is a Google around the startups in education, plenty there. So I'm sure I think all of you should create develop a network that kind of helps you in making a call. Most of the time probably what we have is half-cooked information. So unless you talk to several people, you won't have something on the table. You want to
just add. So check out IIM Bangalore. I don't know about Hyderabad, but NSRSL does incubate education-related startups. There are about 4 or 5 of them which are already incubating. They have a special section for social startups as well. So they fund a lot of the social startups who cannot make money at the beginning and help them create a sustainable model. So check them out.
And also Will Grow and Social Alpha and Village Capital. So there are a couple of places that you could be looking.
Thank you.
The next one.
I'm wondering because I'm a PhD student, but I'm very focused. I completed my graduation, then MSc, then PhD I'm going to complete. And then I have in my mind to complete the postdoc and have my lab. So when I came here and I'm listening these many problems, there's other routes which is not state what I'm thinking. So I'm wondering I'm doing right or wrong, like why these many other branches like these debates are there. So this is what I'm wondering. Is I'm going the right direction where I'm heading? Yeah, what are these areas? Why people are talking nowadays? This may I have to look these areas too?
There is no right or wrong. At no point of time did any one of the five of us said being an academic and being an academic scientist is a bad thing. We are just saying that's not the only thing. You got to follow your gut and see what makes you happy. And I have a unique distinction in this panel of being an academic, being an entrepreneur, being an investor. So I can tell you I enjoy each one of those roles. So there is no right or wrong. It's about what you feel that make you happy. So don't ask ever a question what is right, what is wrong. There is nothing right, there is nothing wrong.
So if we have, so be careful of power of seduction, okay? So if you're seduced by us, then about the new career, then, you've got to be your own devil's advocate, right? So be careful, and that's true. I've been part of government. I've been part of now a non-profit. I have done one startup, that's a government startup called Bayrak, and I've probably interacted with 1,500 startups in my life in the last 5, 7, 10 years. And I've been also in industry, and there is no wrong or right answer. And if I take 30 seconds, from my network, I saw who are the people who have done after their PhD. So I'll take quick names. You may know them or you may not, but you can Google them. So one is Tuhin Bhaumik. I met him when I was at ABLE. Tuhin was a PhD student in Nagaraj's lab in IISc, and he also simultaneously set up a company called Pandorum. And Tuhin and I are very good friends. And Pandorum has just raised 25 crores, including from Bini Bansal, Munjals, and all of that, right? And he's printing tissues in Bangalore and Boston. And by the way, while he was doing that, he's just come out of an iPod fellowship at Hamburg. So he was combining all of that, working crazy, right? That's one. Number two, Malati Lakshmi Kumaran. She's a senior scientist. She's the director of Lakshmi Kumaran Sridharan, geneticist, 25 years in Terry, and then became an IP patent lawyer. Okay. Number third is Sandeep Satpathy, my classmate in MSc. He stepped out, he wanted to do electronics. After MSc Life Science from Sambalpur, studied, is now heads a vertical within Samsung India in R&D in Bangalore, right? And the fourth one is Palash Chakravarti. He did MSc, PhD, wanted to do teaching, and has become one of the most wonderful teachers I have met in an international school. All these careers are right in front of you. Can you raise your hands? How many of you have LinkedIn profiles? How many actually use it effectively, not like a Facebook? Okay, there you go. Having a LinkedIn profile doesn't mean that it's going to help you. You've got to look into people's and their lives. And a career is not made within like 2 years or 5 years. It's taken 20 years, collectively 100 years of careers there.
50?
I guess just adding on to your question. We should not get influenced by the discussion, or and it's as Satya said, it's not an overnight decision. It takes time. Maybe when even I was starting, I finished my PhD in 2005, and I was just experimenting for first few years. I was in industry, moved to 2 different industries, landed up, had a conversation with Rams, and I figured out my own way at CCamp. That's when I realized what I'm looking for. So it takes time. It takes time to even tell you what you would enjoy at the end of the day. But if you are very clear that academia is the path for you, and it's a conscious decision, just go ahead and do it without getting deterred by these conversations. Good things you pick up that build your network, have mentors in your life and all that, but don't get deterred. So having a clarity is very, very important.
We have time for one more question. Anybody? There are 2 more. One here. These are the 2 last questions. So.
Service provider be called as startup? Can IP's intellectual properties or service provider can be called as startup? If it is, like, what is the capital, initial capital for the startup?
Saying,
Let me ask and see if I understood your question. Is intellectual property services a startup? What is the initial capital required to do a startup? I'm not going to answer that question. We can have that conversation later. That's a very specific, narrow question. It depends on how you define intellectual property. So it's a question that probably is not of interest to everybody.
But it will be taken. I mean,
You can ask me at dinner time. I'll answer.
There's one there behind. There's two more. Okay. There's one. Go ahead.
Yeah, I just wanted to ask, maybe it's more of an anecdotal, like based on my experience, people who have often pivoted from their PhD into something else, they all seem to have some things in common, like they have families who are well-to-do, or as you said, mentors, or they know people who are like well connected. So is it even realistic to expect like a typical graduate student who probably came from a very small college and entered into PhD to really even think about pivoting into something else completely different, especially if you want, let's say, go from PhD to something like journalism, where you have to start all over again and you'll be paid peanuts for in the beginning, and you may have to feed cats or your family. So in that sort of situation, could we say that these safety nets often help and it may not really help everybody in the community?
I'm going to answer this question. I probably came from a poorer background than you. So it has nothing to do with your background. But safety net does help. But that should not deter me. You might take a little longer time to reach your goal, as far as you've decided that's the goal you want to be. I went and did a postdoc because I needed the money, but while I was doing my postdoc, I was doing. In fact, they were all joking with me, especially Madhu, saying, while I was a PhD student, I was accused of doing side business. So it's okay. So I don't think that's a correct feeling. You might have to make more adjustment if you don't have a safety net, but you have to have your eye on the ball.
I grew up in a God-forsaken small, even not even town, it's called NAC. You may not even know what it means. It means Notified Area Council, okay? So, and I went to a wonderful college there, old college, not many people know about it, not like Ferguson or whatever those Delhi University colleges are. It's called GM College. So, and I used to stammer. I think safety net is important, but it is really not important in the long run. You know. And we were graduate students like you, and good thing happened was I defaulted my +2, so I had to retake the class. My classmates' size doubled because my previous classmates and my current classmates. So, no, honestly, so you know the 6 degrees of separation, right? You should remember that. Because if average Kendra Vidyalaya class is 40 people, I had 80 classmates now, right? And it's just one, say. So 80 classmates means 80 lives, you know, just from last 20 years, 25 years. Each of them has done something. So, and I might be joking about it, but actually I'm very serious about it. Think about the 6 degrees of separation. They say that you know everybody else in the world by 5 degrees, right? So you know Obama or Trump or whosoever by maybe 2 or 3. So leverage that, and that goes to his question about as a poor graduate, you don't know anybody other than, you know, want to talk to the girl in the next lab, but haven't yet. But other than that, you don't even know even whom to tell. But once you start looking at the alumni network, I think CCMB, CDFD, Indian Social Science, all of them have alumni networks that you should tap into. IITs are IITs. I'm again on record. So IITs are IITs because they have a fantastic alumni network, right? From CCMB, you have one of my classmates, Pallavi Ghana, who did amazing work, published Cell paper, worked in DuPont. Right now she is in Bangalore working in Strand. How many of you know? Has Pallavi actually been called to talk to you? Right? So look within and you will see amazing success stories before you look outside. Oh, I'm almost sounding very Buddhist.
Yeah. My question is very focused towards academia. Whenever PhDs are done and we get to listen lots of job talks here, and the ones who are in are the ones who have done a postdoc outside. And at least it might be an anecdotal observation, but I do not see anyone who has done a postdoc in India and taking a position in Indian institutes. I mean the premier institute. I'm not talking about universities right now. Can you please address this? This is the feeling of all of us.
That's a